The outbreak that began with a laugh and ended in chaos. Chapter 1. The Village Where It Began. The year was 1962. Tanganyika, what we now call Tanzania, had just gained independence. The air was filled with both hope and uncertainty. Villages were adjusting to a new government, new rules, and new expectations. In the tiny rural village of Kashasha, overlooking the western shores of Lake Victoria, there stood a simple boarding school, St. Clair Mission School for Girls. It wasn't luxurious. No electricity, no entertainment. Strict discipline. Young girls lived far from home, waking at sunrise, praying together, studying, and sleeping in dormitories where silence after dark was enforced. But none of them knew that this quiet school would become the center of one of the strangest events in human history. Chapter 2. The First Laughter. On January 30th, 1962, 3 schoolgirls, their names never officially recorded, began laughing. It started as a small giggle, a reaction to a joke perhaps, something silly between friends. But within minutes, teachers noticed the laughter didn't stop. One of the girls clutched her stomach, another bent over gasping between laughs. The third girl cried while laughing, unable to control her own breathing. Teachers scolded them. They separated them. They tried discipline, prayer, even silence punishment. Nothing worked. The laughter deepened instead of fading. By the end of the day, dozens of girls were affected. Some laughed, some cried, some screamed, some shook violently while laughing as if their bodies were hijacked by an unseen force. It didn't feel happy. It looked painful, terrifying. The teachers became afraid. Chapter 4. The Spread. Within 48 hours, nearly 130 students were affected. Some laughed for hours. Some collapsed from exhaustion. Some scratched their skin until it bled. Others fainted in the middle of laughter fits. The school staff panicked. Medical help was hours away. Doctors didn't understand what was happening. Locals whispered about curses, spirits, or ancestral punishment. The school's decision was desperate, but logical. They shut the school down. The girls were sent back to their villages, but the laughter went with them. Chapter 4. The Epidemic Grows. When the girls reached their homes in Shamba, a nearby village, the illness began spreading again. Neighbors, siblings, parents. Soon 217 people in Shamba were affected. Reports described uncontrollable laughter, crying fits, shouting, fainting, sudden fear, panic attacks, trembling, skin rashes, physical collapse. Some villagers experienced symptoms for days, some for weeks. Doctors were confused. No poison detected, no virus, no bacteria. The laughter behaved like a contagious emotion, not a disease. Chapter 5. It reaches schools and towns. From February to May, the epidemic expanded like wildfire. Affected areas included Kashasha, Nshamba, Bukoba, rural farms, nearby mission schools. In total, 14 schools were forced to close. Nearly 900 people were affected, and the outbreak lasted 1 year and 6 months. Some teachers refused to return to work. Priests started performing cleansing rituals. Parents kept their children indoors. Officials from the Ugandan and Tanganyikan governments arrived, some armed, some with notebooks, some with religious tokens, none with solutions. Chapter 6. Theories begin to surface. Researchers from British and American universities eventually arrived. They proposed several theories. 1. Mass psychogenic illness, meaning a psychological illness that spreads through fear, stress, and group pressure. It's similar to mass panic or mass fainting episodes. But this didn't explain everything. Why so much laughter? Why did it spread for 18 months, way longer than typical psychogenic events? Why did it affect villages far away from the original school? Cultural stress hypothesis. Tanganyika had just become independent from British rule. Pressure on students increased. Teachers demanded perfection. Young girls were far from their families. But again, this doesn't explain the physical symptoms: rashes, fainting, screaming, seizures. Ergot poisoning, a fungus in bread that causes hallucinations. But this region didn't use rye, the fungus needed for ergot. Supernatural beliefs. Local tribes believed the land spirits were angry. Some elders said girls had disturbed forbidden areas. Some believed a curse had been accidentally activated. Scientists rejected this, but villagers didn't. To this day, many older residents still blame ancestral spirits. A curse, anger of nature, or something that wasn't meant to be seen. Chapter 8. The epidemic fades, slowly. After 18 months, the laughter gradually disappeared. Not in one day, not in 1 month. It faded village by village. And just like it started, it ended mysteriously, without any medicine, cure, or explanation. No one died from the laughter, but many suffered trauma, fear, and long-term anxiety. To this day, no medical theory fully explains why it began with 3 girls, why it spread like an emotional virus, why laughter became unstoppable, why it lasted so long, why it stopped, and whether it could happen again. The Tanganyika Laughter Epidemic remains one of the strangest, most mysterious psychological outbreaks in recorded history. Chapter 8. The Mystery Today. When scientists revisit the case, they admit there is no definitive answer. It sits somewhere between psychology, culture, mass emotion, and the unknown. A tiny school in a tiny village became the site of a global mystery. And 60 years later, we still don't know whether the laughter was a psychological chain reaction, a suppressed fear released, a mass trauma response, or something supernatural that science cannot measure. Some mysteries can be studied, analyzed, and labeled. But some, like this one, remain forever in the shadows.